Hey, this is Bauke for Liberty to Travel, and I already announced this in yesterday's video, but today I'm going to be talking about my new phone. So I got a new phone a couple of days ago now. It's the Samsung Galaxy S8. So that's the newest model of the Samsung Galaxy S series. And I'm going to talk a little bit about what I like about it, why I got a new phone, and why I replaced my old phone. So my old phone was the OnePlus One. So first of all, one of the reasons I replaced it, obviously it is a phone that is pretty old. It's like over 3 years old now, so it's a pretty old model. And well, in some ways that was enough reason to replace it, because it was showing its age a little bit, in the sense that it started slowing down a little bit. The battery wasn't as good anymore because it was a bit old, and just like general like wear and tear over time. In addition to that, it lacked some like modern features, like it didn't have a fingerprint scanner to unlock it, and it did have the facial recognition with the selfie cam, but it wasn't really fast, it wasn't really super useful. So generally I just had to use the pattern unlock. Other than that, fast charging wasn't, it had fast charging, but it wasn't really working that well. And after I lost the charger that came with it originally, it wasn't working at all anymore. So charging was pretty slow with it. And obviously one of the reasons behind that is it still had the old micro USB connector, whereas newer phones have the new USB-C connector. But having said all that, for a phone that's over 3 years old, it was still doing really, really well. And the main reason I replaced it, there's only one like really, really good reason for replacing it, was the camera. So the camera on this phone, the OnePlus One, was not really that great. Like modern phones that have come out over the last few years have had massive improvements in camera quality. Like since the iPhone 7, Galaxy S7 series, basically, there have been like massive improvements in cameras. Also the newer OnePluses, like the OnePlus 5 and the OnePlus 5T, have really good cameras. But yeah, the OnePlus One just didn't really cut it when it came to camera quality. And since I am now in the process of producing a lot more content for my brand, for my YouTube, for my Instagram and things like that, I just wanted to have a phone with a better camera, even though I have a pretty good camera, like my Canon G7X, it's pretty good. I don't always carry it with me, of course, and that means that if I want to take like spontaneous photos or even videos, the OnePlus One just didn't cut it in that category. Like if I took photos with it, I'd have to really edit them well, like a lot, for them to be like good enough quality to post anywhere. So yeah, the Galaxy S8. So that brings me to why I like the Galaxy S8 so much. And the first, of course, the camera. So since the Galaxy S7, the Samsung phones, the Samsung Galaxy S series, have amazing cameras, like really amazing quality. Now it doesn't have the like dual camera setup that some modern phones have, like the iPhone 7 Plus and the newer iPhones, I think, have that dual camera where you have two cameras and then one of them takes a picture of the background and one of them a picture of the foreground, and then you get that nice blurry portrait effect. However, the software that comes with this phone, in combination with the quality of this camera, can emulate that effect really, really well. So I don't think you really need to have dual cameras anymore to create that. So far I haven't like taken a ton of pictures with it yet, so I can't say like how well I like that portrait mode thing, but from what I've seen so far, it can do that pretty darn well. So what else? The screen on this phone is really amazing because it covers pretty much the entire phone. Let me load up a light app like browser. So you can see. So you can see that the screen is almost the entire front of the phone. So there's a tiny bezel at the bottom. It's almost no bezel at all. And of course at the top there's a bit of a bezel for the things like the speaker and the front camera and the LED for notifications. But other than that, so it has this edge effect that with the Galaxy S6 was introduced, where the edge of the screen is rounded down and then the screen continues on the sides. So on the sides there's pretty much no bezels at all. And yeah, so in the Galaxy S8 that's no longer like a different model. Like the S6, they had like the Galaxy S6 and then the Galaxy S6 Edge, which had this edge effect. The same with the Galaxy S7. They had two different models, one that had the edge effect, one that didn't. With the S8, it comes default with the S8, so you don't have to buy a different version of the S8 to get that effect. Yeah, and they removed. So Samsung for the longest time had a hardware home button, so like a press button on the front of the phone at the bottom, and now they switched to a software home button. So yeah, it's just built into the software. It's on the screen, but you still get, so this one thing I really like is that you can still press the screen when it's turned off as if there is a hardware button, because there is a bit of like a sensor there that senses when you press really hard. So if you press it as if it's a button, the screen does turn on. Because that's one thing I really liked about hardware home buttons, is that you can just press the home button to turn the phone on, and you don't necessarily need to use the side button to turn it on. So you can do that with this phone, even though it doesn't actually have a hardware home button. Another thing I really like is this, where when the phone is turned off, it has this what I call always on display, and it just shows the time, the date, and the battery percentage. At least that is the setting that I have used. So I have this tiny version, which is called, I think, Edge Clock, on the always on display, and it's just the clock, the date, and the battery percentage. You can also choose to have an always on display where it shows a bigger clock in the middle, and then it shows your notifications below. Now, I am very much against seeing notifications on my phone too obviously, because it really distracts me. And like, when I see, like, I also turn off a lot of notifications for apps. Like, I don't have Facebook notifications turned on. I don't have email notifications turned on. It really distracts me during the day when I'm doing something and my phone starts blinking because someone sends me an email. So I turn all that stuff off, and I also don't like to have the notifications on my always on display. So that's why I turn that off. But I do like to see the time, because this thing works even at night, so I just can like put this on the nightstand, and then in the middle of the night, if you want to know the time, you can just see it as if you have, you know, one of those old school alarm clocks in your bedroom where you can always see the time. So that's one advantage of that. What else? Well, the fingerprint scanner used to be, of course, in the hardware home button at the front. So since they got rid of that, the fingerprint scanner moved to the back of the phone next to the camera over here. It works really well. It works really fast. But the disadvantage of that is if you have the phone in your hands like this, you can't really see where the fingerprint scanner is. So you have to kind of feel with your finger where it is, and you might end up putting your finger on the camera instead, and then you smudge the camera with your fingerprints, and then when you try to actually use the camera, well, one advantage is that the software is so good that they tell you, oh, your camera is dirty, you need to clean it, so then you can just go and use your shirt to clean the camera. But it does cause your camera to be dirty quite often, because you're trying to find that fingerprint scanner and then you're actually putting your finger on the camera instead. because the camera and the fingerprint scanner both have kind of the same edge around it. They're just slightly different in size, but it's really hard to feel just based on feeling. So that is why I use the facial detection mostly to turn the phone on. So that's why I use, like I said, I really like to use that hard pressing the screen at the location of the home button. And then I just look at the selfie camera, and the facial detection on this phone is super fast. And as long as you're not in a super dark location, and I also noticed as long as you're not wearing sunglasses, because it doesn't work so well when you're wearing sunglasses or when you're in a super dark location. But other than that, it's super fast. Like, it almost instantly recognizes me and unlocks the phone. So that is why I actually switched from this pattern unlock that I used on my old phone to a pin unlock, which is much more secure. So that is one other advantage of having done that. What else? Oh yeah, it's smaller than my old phone, even though as you can see, significantly smaller on the sides and slightly smaller at the top, and it's definitely lighter, even though the screen of my old phone was smaller. So this thing they did with the screen covering almost the entire phone made it possible for the phone to be quite a bit smaller than other phones with similar sized screens. What I also like is that, unlike some other phone companies, Apple, they decided to keep the headphone jack on this phone, so I can just use my old headphones with the normal headphone jack. I don't have to buy Bluetooth headphones specifically for this phone, even though I actually have a pair of Bluetooth headphones. But I like the ability to still use different headphones as well. And I generally use my Bluetooth headphones with my laptop, so then I don't have to continuously switch the device they're connected to. I can just use regular earbuds with a headphone jack on my phone. Also, pretty good is that they included an SD card reader in the phone, so you can use SD cards in addition to the internal memory that comes with it. So this one comes with 64 gigs of internal memory. I added an extra 64 gigs SD card because I had one already, but that actually means I think the SD cards go up to 256 gigs now, or maybe it's 128, I'm not entirely sure, but so that means you can add significantly more storage to this phone than most other phones. Like most phones, you are able to buy a 128 gig version of it, but then you pay significantly more, whereas SD cards are generally pretty cheap. So you can add extra memory to it at a very good price. I think that's about it. Oh yeah, fast charging is one other thing. It came with the fast charger, the Samsung fast charger, and it's super fast. It charges I don't really have to charge it overnight anymore. I just charge it occasionally during the day with the fast charger. It charges it up to it went from 20 to 80% in less than half an hour just now. So yeah, it's super fast charging. Don't really have to worry that much anymore about your phone going dead, as long as you have the ability to plug it in every now and then. So that's another super big advantage. So yeah, I'm really looking forward to using this phone a lot more in the future to produce more content for you guys, more videos. Also, I will be posting a bit more on my Instagram. I have really been slacking on that, I'm sorry. So if you aren't following me on Instagram yet, I am at liberty to travel there. And I'll see you guys in the next video.